The Autobiography of Andrew Carnegie and the Gospel of Wealth. I'm going to read part of the book Andrew Carnegie's Birthplace. Several other old people of Dunfermline is a place where Andrew Carnegie was born. Dunfermline. Several other old people of Dunfermline told me stories of my grandfather. Here is one of them. One Hagmanay night, an old wifey, quite a character in the village, being surprised by a disguised face, suddenly thrust in at the window, looked up, and after a moment's pause exclaimed. Now I repeat after native speaker narrator.
An old wifey, quite a an old wifey, quite a character in
the village.
Being surprised by a disguised face, suddenly thrust in at the window. Looked up, and after a moment's pause,
Exclaimed,
"Oh, it's just that daft callant."
"Oh, it's just that daft callant."
Andrew Carnegie. She was right. My grandfather at 75.
My grandfather, grandfather at 75
was out frightening his old lady friends. Disguised like other frolicking youngsters. I think my optimistic nature, my ability to shed trouble and to laugh through life, making all my ducks swans, as friends say I do, must have been inherited from this delightful old masquerading grandfather, whose name I am proud to bear. A sunny disposition is worth more than fortune. Young people should know that it can be cultivated. That the mind, like the body, can be moved from the shade into sunshine. Let us move it then.
Let us move it then.
Laugh trouble away if
possible.
And one usually can.
And one usually can.
If he be anything of a philosopher.
If he be anything of a philosopher.
Provided that self-reproach
comes
not from his own wrongdoing.
Comes not from his own wrongdoing.
That always remains.
That always remains.
There is no washing out of these damned spots.
There is no washing out of these damned spots.
The judge within sits in the Supreme Court.
The judge within sits in the Supreme.
And can never be cheated.
Supreme Court. And can never be cheated.
Hence the grand rule of life which Burns gives.
Hence the grand rule of life which Burns gives.
Thine own reproach alone do fear.
Thine own reproach alone do fear.
This motto, adopted early in life, has been
motto adopted early in life
more to me than all the sermons
has been more to me than all the sermons
I ever heard. And I have heard not a few. Although I may admit
a resemblance
to my old friend, and Billy Walker in my mature years. He was asked by his doctor
about his
sleep, and replied that it was far from satisfactory. He was very wakeful.
Very wakeful.
Adding with a twinkle in his eye. But I get a bit fine dose.
With
the cook now and then. On my mother's side, the grandfather was even more marked.
The grandfather was even more marked.
For my grandfather, Thomas Morrison, was a friend of William Cobbett. A contributor to his register. And in constant correspondence with
him.
Even as I write. In Dunfermline. Old men who knew Grandfather Morrison's
Grandfather Morrison
speak of him as one of the finest orators and ablest men they have known. He was publisher of The Precursor.
Precursor.
A small edition, it might
A small edition, it might
be said, of Cobbett's register,
of Cabot's register,
and thought to have been the first radical
and thought to have been the first radical paper
in Scotland.
in Scotland.
I have read some of his writings,
I have read some of his writings,
and in view of the importance now given to
and in view of the importance now given to technical education,
I think the most remarkable of them
I think the most remarkable of them
is a pamphlet which he
is a pamphlet
published 70
which he published 70 odd years
ago, entitled
70 odd years ago,
Head Occasion
entitled Head Occasion
versus Hand Occasion.
versus Hand Occasion.
It insists upon the importance of the latter,
It insists upon the importance of the latter
in a manner that would reflect credit upon
in a manner that would reflect credit upon
the strongest advocate of
the strongest advocate of
technical education today.
technical education today.
It ends with these words.
It ends with these words.
I thank God that in my youth
I thank God that in my youth
I learned to make and mend shoes.
I learned to make and mend shoes.
Cobbett published it in the Register in
Cabot published it in the Register
1833,
in 1933,
remarking editorially, one of the most valuable communications
one of the most valuable communications
ever published in the Register upon the subject
the Register upon the subject
is that of our esteemed friend
is that of our esteemed friend
and correspondent in Scotland, Thomas Morrison, which appears in this issue.
In this issue.
So it seems I come by my scribbling propensities by
inheritance
from both sides. So the Carnegies were also
for the Carnegies were
so readers and thinkers.
Also readers and thinkers.
My grandfather Morrison was a
born orator,
a keen politician, and the head of the advanced wing of the Radical Party in the district. A position which his son, my uncle Bailey Morrison, occupied as his successor. More than one well-known Scotsman in America has called upon me to shake hands with the grandson of Thomas Morrison,
the grandson of Thomas Morrison,
Mr. Farmer, President of the Cleveland and
Pittsburgh
Railroad Company, he once said to me, I owe all that I have of learning and culture to the influence of your
to the influence of your grandfather.
Your grandfather.
Grandfather.
And Ebenezer Henderson,
And Ebenezer Henderson,
author of the remarkable history of
author of the remarkable history of Dunfermline,
stated
Dunfermline,
that he
stated that he largely
largely owed his advancement in
owed his advancement in life
life to the fortunate fact that while a boy,
that while a boy
he entered my grandfather's service.
he entered my grandfather's service.
I have not passed so far through life without
I have not passed so far through life
receiving some
without receiving some
compliments.
compliments.
But I think nothing of a complimentary
But I think nothing of complimentary
character has ever pleased me so
so
much as this from a
writer
writer in a Glasgow
in a Glasgow newspaper. Glasgow newspaper,
who had been a listener to a
who had been a listener to a speech on home rule.
An old wifey.
Autobiography. If I don't see here a letter A, I never heard, I don't hear A in pronunciation. I hear O. My ears hear O, autobiography. But I see A. And autobiography. 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 And because of that is important for me, for my ears, important my eyes, and this script IPA. Autobiography. 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 Accent is on the second, fourth syllable. Autobiography. 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 Also in United States, T is always the always. 99% is the, like here, the. And that difference is visible when I listen
Autobiography.
Pronunciation.
Autobiography. Autobiography.
Here is in United Kingdom is very clear to me. I hear clear.
Autobiography.
Autobiography. Autobiography.
Autobiography.
Autobiography. Autobiography. Autobiography. Autobiography. Autobiography. And
autobiography.
Autobiography. Autobiography. And this is different. It is not A, but between O and A.
Autobiography.
Autobiography. Autobiography.
Autobiography.
Autobiography. Autobiography. Accent is the same. Accent is on the fourth. Autobiography. Fourth syllable. And now United States. Autobiography. 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 And after United Kingdom pronunciation, I'm clear. I hear clear difference between United Kingdom and US. I speak about my ear because my ear, I'm deaf on the both ear, and my ear is not ideal, like sometimes. And because of that, I speak about my eyes. My eyes help me, but help me a lot of difference between United Kingdom and US. And I am sure that after listening United Kingdom and US, I'm sure that difference exists, and I hear
Autobiography.
that difference. Autobiography.
Autobiography.
Autobiography. Autobiography. Autobiography. Autobiography. Autobiography.
Hogmanay. Hogmanay.
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay. Hogmanay. This is A. It is here. Here is A, long stretch A. Hogmanay. Hogmanay. And the difference between this letter, this voice, and this
Hogmanay.
voice.
Hogmanay. Hogmanay. Hogmanay.
It is short and more like O. Hogmanay. Hogmanay.
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay. Hogmanay.
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay. Hogmanay.
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay.
And United States.
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay. Hogmanay. It is very useful is listen both sides, United Kingdom and the US, because I can hear difference when some voice is long, is stretched, versus short voice, like here. Hogmanay.
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay. Hogmanay.
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay. Hogmanay.
Hogmanay. Hogmanay.
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay. Here is
Hogmanay.
in England. I hear hog, not hog, but hog. But because my eyes look at G,
Hogmanay.
I know that pronounces Hogmanay.
Hogmanay.
Hogmanay. And also for me is very interesting that moment with that voice schwa, mene. It is a very fast transition from me to n. Mene. Hogmanay. Nie Hogmanay, nego but Hogmanay. Same here. Hogmanay. Accent is on the first syllable.
Hogmanay.
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 disguised, disguised,
disguised,
disguised,
disguised,
disguised,
disguised,
disguised,
disguised,
grandfather, grandfather,
grandfather,
grandfather,
grandfather,
grandfather,
grandfather,
grandfather,
grandfather,
grandfather,
underline, underline,
underline,
underline,
underline,
underline,
underline,
underline,
underline,
underline,
birthplace,
underline,
birthplace,
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 birth